Today's video is going to be about brumation and bearded dragons. If you are a new bearded dragon owner, you will see that the older they get, the most likely they are to go into brumation. There are a few tips that I want to give out because it is a season of brumation and people are probably having a lot of questions on what is happening with their bearded dragons. So these tips are to help you determine if your bearded dragon is in brumation or if there's something else that's causing it to act the way that it's acting. Now with bearded dragons, they're all different. So hopefully I can explain as much as I can when it comes to brumation, and hopefully it helps you out. We also want to talk about other things that could cause your bearded dragon to act like it's brumating, and things to look for that might cause your bearded dragon to brumate early, not brumate at all. So when it comes to brumation can last anywhere between a few days to a few months. I've had bearded dragons brumate 3 days, a week. I've had bearded dragons brumate for 3 months, 4 months. It happens. Like I said, every bearded dragon is different and they're all going to brumate differently. Now, the things that you want to look for and things you want to do before your dragon brumates, or to see if your dragon is actually brumating. It's always important to look at your dragon's activities before it gets into brumation season. Is your dragon pooping normally? Yes, the topic of poop with bearded dragons is really a hot topic. It really just depends on what you feed them. Some poops can be very dry, some poops can be very runny, and that really also goes into what they're being fed. If they're being fed a lot of high in water content foods, they will poop watery. If they're being fed dry foods, they will poop dry. So really you got to think about what you're feeding them. If your dragon poops normally all the time, and then during brumation, they wake up and they start pooping running, it's probably not brumation. It's probably parasites. Parasites will cause a bearded dragon to sleep longer and not bask as often and seem lethargic, and that will also happen in brumation. So before a dragon brumates, it's also important to make sure that you're getting a fecal done. This fecal exam will make sure that your dragon does not have parasites and that it's actually brumating. Are you adjusting their light schedule? Now, most people will tell you, don't adjust the light schedule of your bearded dragon if it's brumating. Now, I say that is incorrect because if you think about what a bearded dragon is experiencing during brumation season, they're experiencing dropping temperatures, days are shorter, and therefore that's what happens in the wild, and they can sense that. They can sense the atmospheric pressure dropping and things getting colder. Obviously, your house is getting colder. They can sense that. So if you think that just not changing their light schedule is going to be good enough to make them not brumate, you're incorrect. Your bearded dragon will brumate based on what it feels, because it is in their nature to brumate. You want to make sure that there's nothing causing it to act like it's brumating. There are certain things that can make a dragon act like it's brumating. So there's parasites, huge drop in temperatures, there's bad lighting that can all cause a bearded dragon to seem like it's brumating. And really what is happening is that it's adjusting to its environment. Now, if you have bad lighting, so you don't have the right UVB, you don't have a good heat bulb, you're adjusting your bearded dragon's environment in a negative way, and this is causing them to sleeping longer, not digesting their food properly, not wanting to bask. So these things, when you look at what a bearded dragon needs, these things are also causing them to have bad health. A bearded dragon needs proper UVB to properly metabolize calcium and other nutrients. If you're not providing that to them, your bearded dragon is going to experience MBD, which stands for metabolic bone disease, and that is not reversible, but it is preventable. So make sure that you're providing proper lighting to your bearded dragon, and make sure that they are getting the proper nutrients to live a happy, normal life. So for me, I have bearded dragons that will brumate throughout the whole brumation season, and they will never come out to bask. They will never open their eyes. They're sleeping the whole time. What do I do in those cases? There is no need to waste the energy. There is no need to waste the electricity. Just turn off the lights. Make sure they do have good heat. You don't want it to get below room temperature in their enclosure. Bearded dragons can handle temperatures as low as 65 degrees, but there's no need for them to handle temperatures that low. If your bearded dragon is one of those bearded dragons that brumates for a few days and comes out to bask and then brumates for a few days, there's no problem with leaving their lights on because they do come out to bass. They do get UVB when they need it. So just leave their lights on. It won't hurt it. Another thing people ask when it comes to brumation season, should I feed my bearded dragon? That is entirely up to you. That's also entirely up to the bearded dragon. I have bearded dragons that brumate off and on, which means they will sleep for 2 or 3 days, wake up for a day, bask, have a full day awake, and then go back and brumate for another 2 or 3 days. The problem with feeding during brumation is if they do not have the time to properly digest their food with high temperatures, then they will either throw it up or it would rot inside of their stomach or in their throat if they haven't fully digested it. And that could potentially kill your bearded dragon. Every bearded dragon is different, so you don't want to experience that, obviously. Technically, a bearded dragon can go weeks without eating, so there's no need for you to actually feed your bearded dragon. Now, another thing that people ask is, my dragon is not brumating. Every dragon is different. These are captive bred animals now, and they're no longer wild. So some of them do not brumate. Some of them will stay awake the whole winter and bask and eat like normal. If you are a breeder, it is important that your dragons get a good brumation scheduled in. It's important for breeding females to brumate properly. It gives them a rest period from a breeding year. I also do not breed all my females every single year. I do sometimes give them breaks. It really just depends on if they gain their weight back and didn't have any issues with breeding the previous year. So if you give them that rest period and they are properly gaining weight and they have no issues with health, go ahead and breed them. Again, it's really just a preference, but you want to make sure that that female that's breeding does brumate to get a rest period. So now I'm going to show you some of my brumating dragons. I'll talk about what their lighting schedule is based on the bearded dragon. So here we have a bearded dragon that actually was brumating a few days ago. For the past day and a half, he has been awake and experiencing a normal schedule where he sleeps at night and is basking and eating during the day. So here we have 2 girls. Both of these girls are actually brumating. Yes, they are cohabbed. That is for a topic for a different video. But for this video, they are actually on practically the same brumating schedule. They go to sleep for a few days, wake up, and then bask, eat, go back to sleep. So because of that, I do leave their lights on. Their lights are on for about 6 or 7 hours a day, depending on how much sun there is outside. So I do try to base their actual schedule based on the daylight schedule. So if the sun rises at 8 in the morning and it sets at 4 in the afternoon, that'll be their schedule for that day. Here we have another girl. She is actually on a full brumation schedule. She does not wake up at all for weeks at a time. So therefore, I just leave her lights off. Here is another set of girls. Again, I cohab some of my females, not all of my females. Again, that's a topic for a different video. They are not brumating this year. At least they haven't started yet. Sometimes they do start pretty late. Depending on their brumation schedules, they might get separated. They might stay together. I might leave their lights on. I might turn them off. So it really just depends on how they go individually into their schedules. Now the question of when should my bearded dragon go into brumation? It is anywhere during the winter. So depending on the situation, depending on the environment, it could go anywhere from September all the way until March. So yes, that is 6 or 7 months of brumation, depending on the situation, depending on the environment. If it stays cold for a long time, they will brumate practically the whole time, which is another reason why it's important to keep them in the right temperature. Don't let it drop below 65. Another thing is, should your young bearded dragon be brumating? The answer is no. If your bearded dragon is not full grown or 8 to 12 months, some start as early as 8 months, but usually it's about a year when they start brumating. So if your dragon was born in January, it will brumate probably the next winter. If your dragon was born in July, it will probably not brumate until the following winter. So it'll skip a winter and then it'll start brumating the next winter. Again, it'll be about a year and 4 months before it starts brumating for that particular dragon. This girl here was born in April. She is not brumating this year. She will brumate next winter. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on social media. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Peace.